All right, good afternoon, everybody. Just wanted to welcome you all here today to the conference. It's a pleasure to be back with some really exciting things going on. For those of you who haven't met us, I'll start by saying we're plagued in a business of looking for gold deposits with a high degree of risk. And with risk goes a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of energy to find these deposits. And the one way to make it worthwhile is to put all your effort that you'd put in to find a regular size deposit into a much bigger target. And that's what we're really all about. We're going for major gold exploration discoveries, the kind of ones that you'd hear about for the next 20 or 30 years. And so you'll see a portfolio today that's balanced with big risk, big projects that could be massive discoveries and some near-term value assets as well. I will be making cautionary notes or cautionary statements, and this is primarily to do with a drill hole we just drilled in Peru that looks like a surprise to us, a big one. It looks like it could be a monster. And I'll show you what the hole looks like with the very full disclaimer that it doesn't mean it's going to run, but it could. But it's an exciting time as we just got started working in Peru. So we describe ourselves as a leading gold exploration company. What does that mean? We have a portfolio of 7 projects, but also to go with that, a world-class technical team, and we'll talk about that in just a few slides. It's one thing to have many projects, but it's another thing to have the people to go drive them forward. Our valuation is fairly low right now where it has been in the last year. We're at about $150 million market cap. We're big buyers ourselves, but last year at this time, Goldcorp made an investment for $35 million into our company. What I will say is the reasons why they bought us has gotten better in the last 12 months when they first made their investment, and I'll explain that as well. Optionality, there's no mystery that optionality comes with a company that has multiple projects. In our portfolio, 2 are advanced near term. They could be self-funding opportunities, or they could be things that come to production in a very short period of time relative to the time it takes to find and build something. So optionality is a key. It mitigates risk, and it puts us at the forefront of delivering a lot of value. And lastly, the substantial growth upside. We're on our 3rd of 7 projects in our portfolio. Last year, I feel like we were treated as if we drilled all 7 projects. I know we wanted to, but there was no way to do that. So we're on our 3rd project. We're drilling our first one down in Peru, and we're about to get onto some major exploration projects as well down there as we're working towards them. Our management team has a high degree of experience, not only in finding ounces, but monetizing value in the markets. We've raised over $500 million. We came together in 2005. Myself and Sean Wallace were the 2 founders. We've been very fortunate to surround ourselves with so many more really high quality people, both on the technical end, very important, as well as the corporate and financial end. Asanko, which was formerly Keegan, was a 5 million ounce discovery. It's now a producing mine. We sold Caden in the middle of the bear market for $205 million. We describe Auryn as the best opportunity, and that's not predicated by our ambition to do something better necessarily than we've done before. It's predicated by the quality of projects that we have in this portfolio that we were able to acquire in the bear market. This is a discovery curve. This is also what was really important to us as investors. We like to see the maximum return, and that's always been the finding of a gold deposit. If you look on the left, that's Keegan Resources right here. Finding 5 million ounces, the share price did reasonably well from 50 cents to $9 per share. In a bear market, we drilled 100 holes. We didn't have a resource, but we still provided an incredible return for shareholders. That's discovery. Finding a mine, building a mine is 2 things, but the actual discovery phase is where you make the most money. In terms of our technical team, while we were finding the mine in Keegan, Dan McCoy, our chief geologist at the time, met Michael Hendrickson and Dave Smithson, who were putting together a lot of ounces for Newmont at Ahafo in Ghana. These gentlemen traveled the globe. They were able to add all of their friends, the global exploration team at Newmont, including the former chief geologist from Newmont, to join our team and our effort to go and find major gold discoveries and design the portfolio that we currently have. This is half our technical team in place. We don't have enough room to put everyone, but it's a tremendous depth of technical people on this page. So this is our portfolio. The premise was geopolitically good jurisdictions. Geopolitically positive places such as Canada and Peru are easier to finance. We get to finance at a 40% premium in Canada with charity flow-through financing mechanisms. That's huge. It brings the cost down for our northern projects. When we were assembling this portfolio, we looked at high grade in the north and oxide down in Peru, but everything had to have a degree of scale. It had to have a huge look. It had to be something where you could find 5, 10, 20 million ounce gold districts, and that's really what this is about. Committee Bay is where we've done the most work to date. Up here, there's a nice resource in the middle of this 300-kilometer-long gold belt. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Homestake Ridge is something that's really advanced in BC. It's in the Golden Triangle. It's about 1.1 million ounces of 9 grams gold equivalent. We've done metallurgy. It's something that could be produced as a concentrate. We're going to expand on that information later this year, but it's somewhere that we've started to get into the new direction of potentially a new major discovery. Gibson McCoy, it falls into the camp of Committee Bay. It's earlier stage, but it sits right next to an 11 million ounce mine that averages 7 grams per ton. It's got a very strong geological concept that would be much similar to a Musselwhite type of discovery if it does happen, and it won't be drilled until next year. But Peru is what I'm going to talk more about today because we're drilling down here as I speak. Peru is the land of endowment. We've had a slow start because it takes time to get through the communities, but you're now talking oxide gold from surface. This is a lot easier than drilling up north in the Arctic. This is our timeline. The main point you want to take away today is we're currently drilling. We're about to go into the rainy season in Peru, and then we're going to resume drilling at Peru in April, towards April. And we're going to start drilling secondary discovery holes at Committee Bay in about 8 weeks at the end of March. So we get to go back to Committee Bay in March this year versus July where we started drilling last year because we're doing secondary discovery drilling, which just happens to be right next to our infrastructure. Following that, a project you guys want to post a lot of attention to is Sombrero. We're about to get our community access. We'll probably be drilling it in September, provided community agreements continue to go forward in permitting. Sombrero rivals Committee Bay and upside potential down in Peru. We're finally about to get access to that as well. We're only looking at financing the first 6 months of this year. We're not going to worry about the second 6 months because a few drill holes that could come out and re-rate us for a lot better share prices to do that. So just a reminder of Peru, we're in southern Peru. The land of giants is what we call it. We came into Peru by the introduction of a man by the name of Miguel Cardozo. He's credited with the discovery of Yanacocha, a 60 million ounce epithermal discovery in Peru. He's picked these projects. We came in with the financial ability to go and acquire these. And if any of you have been following what's happened in Peru lately, there's been a huge improvement on drilling regulations as you go permit. The limit before was you had to permit each drill hole before you went and drilled them. Now you can permit an area and drill freely in that area. And that just makes it so much easier to do exploration and get towards discovery. So a really, really big positive for us. As I said, it's oxide, gold, and skarn and targets that we're looking at. These are right from surface. From surface is a lot easier than under surface. And these are projects that weren't accessible before, but over time and with capital in our hands, we're able to get to them. So Wiacoyo is where we're drilling. We're right next to a producing mine. That mine is operating at 100,000 ounces a year at a $313 cash cost per ounce. That's one of the lowest cost producers I'm aware of in the world. And here's the kicker. It's 0.5 gram gold per ton. So we're drilling next to one of the most profitable type of mines you can find. We're very analogous in terms of what we have as a target. There's a series of old holes here at the top of a hill. I'm going to show you what they look like in terms of a section and where we've hit a pretty big hole that's about to go into the lab tomorrow. Takora is a spectacular second target. There's a nice trench here, 87 meters of 0.7 grams on surface, very similar to what you're seeing over here. And then Wiacoyo 2, we call this pink stuff is all gold on surface. It's another massive target to really open up Wiacoyo. So what I'm going to show you now, we're going to take a slice through the top of this hill, and the gold shape is in yellow. As you can see, there's nothing to remove except for gold at the top of the hill. We drilled this hole, it's hole 3. We thought the hole was going to end right here. We thought we would get into basement rock, which would not be amenable to oxide type of mining, is what we're talking about, low cost. And then we hit 220 meters of rock that looks like the rock that's up here. So gives us a really, really big shot. That's the widest hole in my 18 years of being in this business that I've drilled that has a possibility to run with strong oxidization, hydrothermal breccias, massive silicas. The one caveat here, and you have to take this away today, is because it's epithermal, as the gold comes up, it comes out in pulses. Not all pulses have gold in them. So even though this rock looks identical to the rock up here, it might not be as strongly mineralized, but it also might very well be. If this thing runs though, this 220 meters, that's substantial. This thing goes to 1 million ounces very quickly. And we all talked about the mine next door that's operating around $300 cash cost per ounce. There's a power substation within feet of our property. There's access to water, there's flat ground to build a leach pad. Whatever we find here will be extremely valuable, but we're going to lose a lot of sleep on this hole here over the next few weeks. Committee Bay, just as a reminder, we're in the land of elephants. Amaroq was a massive discovery. It's the biggest discovery in the last 10 years. They're pushing 6 or 7 million ounces of a 6-gram deposit. Meliodine's about 11 million ounces of 7 grams. Committee Bay, 300-kilometer long belt, deposit in the middle. We've scoured this belt for 2 years. We've learned a lot more about this belt than we knew in the last 2 years, and we've really narrowed down our chances for a major discovery, and you're going to see that being drilled at the end of March. Gibson-McCoy is the big greenstone belt that we'll talk about in just a moment. That looks a lot like Musselwhite. So this is the middle of the belt. Now we're looking down at Three Bluffs. This is where there's $27 million worth of infrastructure. 12 kilometers away, we drilled this thing called Ivik. We hit the high-grade portion is 18 meters over 3 grams. A lot of people are like, well, that's good, but who cares? It's a 60 gram per ton hole. Well, if you look at the actual structure it sits on, this is 7 kilometers long. There's gold shedding off of that in high grades, in boulders, over 5 grams per ton in boulders. There's a lot of till with a lot of gold in it as well. It's a 7 kilometer long projected shear zone. All of what I just said is analogous to how Meliodine came together, but their first hole was 2.5 meters of 14 grams. So we're in the ballpark. We have a massive signature, a massive structure. We'll be drilling this in the last week of March. If we are successful, that's it. The show stops and we're on our way. As a backup to take some pressure off of Ivik, we're also going to be drilling Three Bluffs. We're going to drill the east side of the deposit. We're going to start pulling it down to depth, chasing down these high-grade ore shoots. This will give us some success so that if we miss at Ivik, we have something here so the market doesn't have to completely fall out of bed. And keep in mind, Peru drilling is going to be going on at the same time if that discovery hole hits and we continue to drill there. So Gibson-McCoy, major greenstone belt. You can see Agnico owns the land right around us. Meliodine would be about 70 kilometers away. You're 100 kilometers away from Baker Lake. Infrastructure is going to be a lot easier here. This major bend in this greenstone belt is spectacular. We've done some till work. We're seeing gold right on the bend of the belt. That's where you would hope to find a Musselwhite style discovery. We won't get to drilling this until next year, but we'll be able to do a lot of surface work and get it ready. This is Sombrero. This is the one that I said will rival Committee Bay. Everything here is from surface. Our first property we acquired here is in yellow, and then we went on and we got the land around it because we saw mineralization coming off the edge of it. We've gone one step further and we've acquired this big pink ground here. What you're looking at is gold and Beleg anomalies. Anything in pink or red is really, really positive. They took one sample off of here, got 0.5 gram gold over almost 1.4% copper. Why this project is so big and important to us is it's 200 kilometers west of Las Bambas. Las Bambas was bought for $5.8 billion in 2014. It was a copper porphyry, predominantly copper. You'll see here on the next slide, we've done a little bit of work just down here in this small little area. We've trenched 53 meters of 1.7 grams. 14 of that ran 5 grams per ton gold. We got several multi% copper on outcrop here. We got several multi-gram gold on outcrop here as well. This pink and blue, these two different rock bodies, intrusive skarn and limestone, those contacts is where the mineralization should occur and where it seeps up to the surface of these areas. There's 20 kilometers of contact so far in the southern portion of this property. This is massive. We're going to get to drilling this in September. We should have full-time surface access to this in the next few weeks. Once that starts happening, then we're going to build on a southern version of Committee Bay to go after in Peru. Homestake Ridge, we had a lot of expectations here. There's been some spectacular holes. 73 meters of 21 grams per ton gold was the best hole in this project. Golden Triangle, SK Creek's in the Golden Triangle, Land of Giants, high grade specifically. These are the two historical deposits and one down here. We went and we drilled an extension of the Homestake main zone. It didn't deliver. It looks like it dips deeper into that direction. We'd have to go deeper. We're not going to follow up on that this year. The one that we did have success at the end of our program was we started to drill towards these pink and yellow colors. Pink is gold on surface and soils. Obviously, it's a really strong anomaly over here. What we were successful in identifying was that the mineralization plunges toward that direction. If you also look back, this is parallel to the main zones, and they're both plunging in the same direction. So there's a real big shot here to add high-grade ounces. We've done metallurgy. The metallurgy is in the mid to high 80s. You'd be producing a concentrate, which means low capex, 1.1 million ounces of 9 grams gold equivalent. That's near-term value today as is, and we think it gets a lot bigger. Our last big project is the Baños del Indio project in Peru. You're looking at a 200-meter silica cliff. You're seeing 50 ppb in rocks. What does that mean? We used Goldfields Solaris Norte deposit example. The blue color there would be the same value of gold in the rocks above. Silica is generally fluids through the rocks, which is how the gold would come into this epithermal style target. They found about 4 million ounces or 3.3 million ounces of 4 grams beneath it. This is about 1.5 kilometers of strike length. We have 60 square kilometers of this, and this project is on the same structure that hosts Wiakoya, which we're drilling right now. So moving ahead to our capital structure, everybody's going to say, when are you raising money? What's the opportunity there? Well, right now we have $3 million, or we had $3 million in cash. We're going to need money in the next 45 days. I can tell you that we're not going to raise money with a warrant. Sorry, Rick. I see Rick's at the back there. The demand is too high for this financing, and we're not going to raise as much money as we're going to be offered, because we're going to be only raising money to continue working in Peru, as well as this spring program in Committee Bay. We think we have a very big hole in the bag that could re-rate us significantly. We're going to be anti-dilutive. Maybe we raise $14 or $15 million. What I do promise about the financing, when we finally get to doing it, we're going to be very selective with our shareholders who participate in it, much like we were when we picked Goldcorp last year. They were the best investment for us. Moving ahead on the chart, we obviously haven't performed. The gold market was tough in Q4, but our results weren't as obvious to the public market, but they were very obvious to us technically inside, and we weren't drilling Peru. So if you're to look at us as an exploration company, you want to separate us from every one of your exploration investments. You got to think portfolio of 7 projects. Yes, there's a lot of big upside in 4 of the projects, and I'm talking the kind that got Goldcorp interested in our company. But 2 of the projects, and 1 of them we're drilling right now, have near-term value. If that hole starts hitting at Wiakoya, the risk that going after Committee Bay, going after Sombrero, going after Gibson-McCoy and Baños del Indio, that risk gets taken away from you because you have a catalyst. You have a Peruvian oxide deposit, low-cost potential producer that's going to start adding plus million ounces. So everything becomes free, and the portfolio trades at a premium because of the upside potential. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got 3 minutes left to answer any questions. Does anyone have a question in the room? All right. Thank you very much for your time. Wish you guys all the very best. Thank you.